Hey everybody, this is Tony Snipes with Art Lessons from God and Art Slam Live. Just wanted to let you know that I've chimed in and I'm waiting for the rest of you to chime in. So just feel free to sit back, relax. We will be starting the webinar in a few minutes. We just want to give everybody a chance to go ahead and get settled in, and then we'll get started. Hey, I just want to remind everybody while you're coming in and having a seat and sitting down just to get started, you will be able to chat along with me in that upper right hand corner. Depending on how this is looking on your screen, in your upper right hand corner of your screen, you should see a little chat area where you can post any questions that you have, any shout outs, any especially questions that you have. We'll try to address as many of those questions that we can today. We'll get started in a few minutes. Hey, gang! While we have everybody chiming in, I want to thank you for coming to the webinar. I see a lot of familiar names and faces. I want to thank everybody for just joining me this morning. One thing I want to check before we get started, because I do want to make sure that this is a great experience for you. I have muted my audio on my computer here so that I don't have any reverb. And so that you don't hear my voice twice. I mean, it's already bad enough that you got to deal with my voice for the few minutes that we're here this morning. But I want to make sure that you can hear me clearly and comfortably. So those of you that have been on the chat tool that we have, if you can just let me know if everything sounds okay or if not, and then we'll correct that, because again, we want this to be a great experience for you. So just let me know if everything's sounding okay, and if not, we'll take care of that. And we will be starting. I'm going to give everybody about one more minute and we'll jump right into the information. Well, hey folks, it sounds like the sound is okay, so we'll go ahead and jump right into the information. I want to thank everybody again for joining me this morning. For those of you that may have been invited by somebody else and you may not be familiar with me, or you kind of knew me a little bit, I want to officially introduce myself. My name is Tony Snipes, and I am the founder of artlessonsfromgod.com, which basically what we do, we help creative people discover their purpose. One of the things and one of the other methods that you may know me from is I'm also the founder of Art Slam Live, which is part of what we do to really help connect artists with the audience that they're trying to reach. So some of you know me from either one of those initiatives that we do, or both. And I want to just welcome you all to the webinar today. As you know, the main the big thing that we want to make sure that you have that opportunity to do is not sit on that idea and especially sit on it again. Because what I found is that, and I've experienced this myself, many of us have had great ideas and it's been God-given ideas, but it stops right there. And it's just been that challenge of how do we take it from the idea phase to actually taking action and making it something that actually takes place and happens. Um, I have a lot of passion for that because I've experienced that myself for several years, even especially prior to the things I've been launching with Art Lessons from God and Art Slam Live. But the big thing that I had been challenged with, I'd had so many ideas over and over again and wasn't really taking action on any of them. And I started getting frustrated with myself because I kept hearing even myself or just sharing ideas with other people and still haven't gone another year with not taking any action, to the point where I almost was telling myself this every time I come up with, say that information about that idea again. I tell myself, shut up. And that may sound funny or anything, but I start telling myself, shut up. Because if you're not going to take any action on this thing that you keep talking about, I'm going to do this. One of these days, I'm going to launch that. It was time for me to just, shut up and put up. If I was really going to be serious about taking some action, then I needed to start with some actual steps. But the challenge is a lot of times we don't know what steps that we need to take. So I want to take a little bit of time today just to kind of address that, how some things have been helpful for me to overcome that. And then I'll share with you throughout our session here some success stories of some folks that I've been able and blessed to work with, and they've actually taken their idea from the idea phase to some actual action and living things that are taking place right now. And then at the end of our presentation today, at the end of the session, I'm going to leave you with some tools that you can take the next action or the next step with, because there's no way that you're going to get the ultimate answer for everything in less than an hour right now. I think we're going to scratch the surface. I think we're going to give you enough to really get you started, really get you from that point of being exactly where you are a year from now to actually being able to take action. But if you do need help, we'll have some resources that are available for you there. Before we really get into it, I've got a couple shout outs here. I want to let you pay attention to what's going on in our background here. This is where everything happens. This is my home office, and this is where everything that takes place with Art Lessons from God as well as Art Slam. This is the nerve center of it all. So you can see some familiar art that you may have seen on the blog and everything else. But I was actually debating which mug that I wanted to do or use this morning, because I got some water in here, because as you can see, I do a lot of talking. And one of the folks I want to give a shout out is the Imagine Center that is in Greenville, South Carolina, and I especially want to thank them for being a faithful sponsor of Art Slam Live. Every session that we've done, and we've done 7 events, they have been a sponsor of every one of those. So I want to thank them for, let's get it in the camera here, for being our sponsor and making these things happen. And I still was, like I said, I was torn between who I wanted to give shout outs to. So I said, well, let's just go ahead and include a few folks. Can't forget our folks and our friends from Channel 7, and some of them have dialed in and are on the webinar today. So I want to give y'all a shout out. Thanks a lot. And we are webcasting this all over the country and even in a couple of places, I believe, since I have subscribers outside of the U.S. as well, too. But I cannot forget the home folks. So back in the Norfolk, Virginia, Chesapeake area in Virginia, in the Virginia Beach area, I want to give y'all a shout out, too, so y'all have not been forgotten. So just want y'all to know that, y'all are in my hearts and in my mind as we go into the presentation today. So again, now here's the thing. The tragedy of not moving on an idea is that there are so many folks that have been praying about whatever it is, that the book that you feel that God is telling you to launch, or the business that He's telling you to start, or even to expand that business. There's a tragedy in that when people do not take action on those ideas. I've heard, and some of you are familiar with a great minister and businessman, business mentor. His name is Miles Monroe. One of the things that he has said that I've latched on to, he said that one of the places where where you can find the most dreams and unfulfilled businesses are in the cemetery. One of the places that you can find as far as the tragedies, not those folks passing away, but they have passed away with a dream, an idea, or whatever it was that was really supposed to be something big, really was supposed to be something that was going to make an impact and a difference, but it died with that person because they did not take action. And that's what I want to help you prevent today, because many of you know that you have a God-given idea, you have that God-given concept, and the challenge is that you haven't taken action. And especially, and where you're sitting at, raise your hand if you were like me, where it has been yet another year that you're looking into the upcoming year, and you still haven't taken action on the thing that you knew you were supposed to before. So raise your hand if that's you. Okay, that had been me, and that's what some of the stuff that I'm going to share with you of how I was blessed to be able to prevent that. But let me share with you how I learned, or where I learned some of the tools, or some of the things that I learned to kind of help me prevent that. And it ties into my background. Again, as you know, I've been the founder of Art Lessons from God, as well as Art Slam Live. But most of you know, or many of you that do know me personally, know that a lot of my business background comes from working within news media. For several years, working with one of our major local newspaper here, the Greenville News, which is part of Gannett, and also now working with our local CBS affiliate, WSBA, Channel 7, here in our local area, again, a local CBS affiliate. One of the key things that I learned from working with those corporate groups is that in order for them to really have plans for the millions of dollars that they bring in year after year, they sit down and they take whatever ideas that they feel are on their radar, whatever concepts, whatever things that they feel may be something that's going to help them be successful in the upcoming year. They take time out and they sit down and they actually write the vision down. They actually put together a strategic roadmap and write out exactly what they feel are the steps to take in order to have success for the upcoming year. When I was first introduced to that, the light went on, where I saw that there's a disconnect between large corporations like these news groups and many other companies, you know, all around the world that do this on a regular basis, and the small business and even the individuals like ourselves had no clue on this is exactly how you take it from an idea, concept, or a dream to a real goal that that can actually happen. A lot of folks have those ideas, but they don't take the practical steps in order to create that roadmap to make it a reality. It is something that I learned from the corporate atmosphere, and again, I want to share with you today. Some of the folks that have chimed in prior to our call today, and you guys are familiar with our conversations that we've had, whether it's been by phone or on the website. Anthony said that he wanted to finish his novel going into 2013. Anthony, we're going to give you some information and some steps to help you to do that. Petro, one of our great Art Slam Live winners and sponsors as well. Petro said that he wants to display his art in the public more. Petro, we're going to give you some information to help you with that. Caleb, another not only Art Slam participant, but the most recent winner, said that he wanted to promote a book. He's very talented, and I can see that that book can happen. And Caleb, we're going to talk about how you can actually take the practical steps to do that. So, again, many of you are familiar with right on our doorstep, and how do we actually take steps to make it happen. So I've lived that. That's just one example, but that's some of the stuff that we're going to share with you as well today, how it can work for you. I've also been able to, um, it's been a blessing for me where some other folks that I know of that also said that they had some ideas that they wanted to see if they can be a reality, and they didn't know which steps to take. And this is something that's been helpful for a few folks that have been coaching clients of mine. Um, Hey folks, I just got word, and I'm sorry for the delay on this, but I just did get word that every time I show the photos, you're not able to hear. So what I'm going to do to take care of that, I'm going to show the photos, but I'm not going to talk while the photos are going. But I do want to make sure, I apologize for the technical difficulties, but what what I was showing you with that photo is that is one of our coaching clients, Sandra Renrick. And one of the things that Sandra had the opportunity to do was she had a blog idea, but she didn't know what steps to take with it. She had a passion about natural hair, and she wanted to build a community around that. So what Sandra and I did, we sat down, we had a few conference calls, and we actually created a roadmap as far as the steps that she needed to take in order to make that happen. So Sandra was able to not only really start building that community within the blog itself, but then she was able to expand it beyond the blog and actually have a following now that's on Facebook, that's on the blog itself, and it's actually even spilling over to live events. So here's another shot of Sandra, what she's been able to do. And there's a couple other folks that I've been connecting with that also had dreams that they wanted to take into a reality. That's my friend Jack Surrett, and Jack had currently had a marriage ministry, he and his wife, at our church, but they wanted to expand it beyond just the local church itself. And so we sat down and we talked about how do you actually get there. And from that discussion and just taking it from an idea that he was sitting on, he didn't sit on it, but a lot of folks do, we said that one of the practical steps that he can take was to launch a blog where he would be able to connect with the local folks and even beyond that. So creating a roadmap to actually take steps on that and make it happen is something that eventually turned into now a national blog that Jack and his wife have. There's another shot. And that blog is called Redeeming Marriages. But again, it started with him sitting down, having that idea, and then writing down some practical steps in order to go into the next level. And now that ministry that he's doing, again, has gone from being local to now it's something that's on a national level. One last example. That's my friend and coaching client, Julian Nixon. Julian Nixon is a professor and instructor at Greenville Technical College. And one of the things that he wanted to do, he really felt led and had an idea and a concept of expanding what he teaches in the class to kind of helping students to really just help them with their learning process. He had information that he had written down. He had a vision about doing workshops. He had a vision about doing motivational speaking. And like many of us, we have all of these ideas. And Julian really wanted to find out how does he take all the multiple ideas and really sit them down in a way that they really fit together to help go where God was actually trying to send them. So what we did, we sat down and we just did some discussion and just some roadmap planning in order to determine that he needed to launch a blog. One of the things that he said that he eventually wanted to do, like many of you that are on the call, on the webinar, he said that he wanted to write a book and he wanted to see how all of that fit in. So in our discussions, we found out that before he wrote the book, he needed to build a blog in order to build an audience. Now think about this, because a lot of you have said prior to our webinar today that one of the things that you really want to do is to write a book or to launch the book that you've already been working on, and especially a lot of things have been tying around that publication that you want to launch. I've come across a handful of folks that kind of put the how do you say, put the cart ahead of the horse, where they put their energy and their focus into writing the book, but they had done no steps as far as who is the audience, who are they going to present that book to afterwards. In fact, I know a person that actually spent money to have a book published, had many copies of the book shipped to them, and then didn't know, well, where do I go as far as starting to sell the book? That's where strategic planning comes in. Julian was able to, again, take it from just the idea and even launching the book. He's built the blog first, and from that point, launched the book and actually has turned into speaking engagements. Julian now is working on his second book. I think his first book, if not the second book, is actually going to be part of a curriculum in some of the courses that are being taught. And he has had several opportunities to speak on the same content that the book has been providing. So all of this talks about a strategic plan and putting those things together. Now, here's whatever goal and idea that you have. Many of you have shared with me, again, a lot of folks are on the webinar today that said that you want to launch a book or whatever that idea is. You want to do what's called, and you may have heard this before, SMART goals. SMART is that acronym where that you want it to be S first, a specific goal. You've got to take it from, like for example, one of the things that I wanted to do, as I shared with you before, was I wanted to launch, I wanted to have more people in my local community know about what I did as an artist. I could not leave that as the goal by itself. It has to be something specific. So it went from a goal of wanting more people to know about me as an artist to a specific event where, or a specific item where it was launch a minimum of one live event for the year. And then that goal has to be measurable. That's where the M comes. It has to be measurable. It is something that you can measure. And as I mentioned just then with my example, I wanted to launch a minimum of one event. Doing minimums with your goals really is refreshing because it eliminates you having to say, you know, well, how much of this can I do before I'm successful? Take a look at what's the minimum for you. And if you can do more than that, then great, build upon that. But at least take a look at your personal time, family time, work time, and everything that you've got going on, and be specific with what that goal is, but then make it something that is a measurable target, and minimums help with that. The goal has to be something that is attainable. It has to be something that you really feel within your time, within your resources, and within just everything that you, even just your education level, depending on what the goal may be. It has to be something that is an attainable goal. Let me give you an example. I've worked with someone in the past where we had a goal of doing a certain event, let's say, and this person said that we want to be the best in our region. Now, that is a good goal to shoot for, but it may not be the wisest goal to shoot for in the immediacy as far as within this upcoming year. And exactly how do you measure that as far as being the best? So it needs to be something that is attainable. And that's where, again, when you put those minimums on your goal, it allows you to really get your arms around, here's something that we truly can attain. Most of the folks that are on the webinar today, too, from some of you that I know, a lot of us are also working. We also have family, and so we still have to take a look at whatever this goal is, whether how big or how small it may be, does it fit within our time frame? So again, put that specific criteria on it, making it something that is attainable. Now, those of you that have seen this before, you've seen this acronym SMART, where you know that it needs to be something specific, something measurable, it needs to be something attainable, and the R, some folks have said that the R standing for it needs to be different things. I'm putting in relevant, and what I mean by that is, let's use again the book idea. Whatever it is that you are wanting to launch or wanting to step out on as far as that that idea that you have, step outside of your own passion and your own desires, because typically the idea that you're onto is not for you. You are part of it, but especially if it's a God idea instead of just a good idea, then it is something that is not for you. It is for someone else. You are the answer to many people's prayers. The things that you are trying to, where actually the thing that God is trying to get through you to somebody else is for somebody else. So it must be relevant. That goal must be something that is relevant to what people want and need, And also make sure that it's something relevant to other things that you're doing right now. A lot of folks ask me about the multiple things that I do, where I am involved, and I am one of the leaders of internet marketing and sales strategies with the local CBS affiliate, WSBA, in our local area. I do workshops, as you see here. I am part of the board with the Small Business Development Center in our local area as well. And so they see me doing a lot of different things. However, the key thing about them is a lot of them are already tied into things that are connected, whether it has to do with marketing, interactive marketing, art, and I tie in marketing to that. Those things are relevant and they're connected, and especially they're connected to the audience that I'm trying to reach as well too. Take a look at that for yourself and the goal that you're shooting for. Is it something that is connected to everything else that you're already involved with? If it's not, it may be something that you may want to kind of table for another time. But if you see that it's something that fits within the people that you're trying to reach, and especially the things that you're already doing, then it may be a good fit as far as an idea that you want to take that extra step on for 2013. And that last thing of SMART, not only being specific, not only being measurable, not only being attainable, not only being relevant, but also being time sensitive. Put a date on it. Folks have said, and you may have heard this a lot of folks have said the difference between a dream and a goal is having a deadline on it. Excuse me there. And that is the big thing that makes a difference between somebody actually being able to make a goal take place and happen, and it still being a dream that you're talking about this time next year, is that you have a timeline on it. When you have a timeline on it, schedule out, give yourself enough time to make it happen, and then from that point start working backwards. When you put that date on it on something, you're able to say, here's a date that we want this to happen, and if it's going to happen in that particular date, then here's the steps that we need to take leading up to that. Now here's the key. This is again the things that I learned when I was at the Greenville News, when I'm currently at the CBS affiliate WSBA, all these corporate places that I worked at, and many of you see this for yourself with large corporations. They make things happen, but it's not just a fly-by-night thing. There's some planning that goes into that, and that's where they're able to do things year after year, making the millions of dollars that provide the resources to make those things happen because they put deadlines and targets on it. Do we do that as small business people and individuals? Those that have been making some goals happen, do set those timelines. People that don't set timelines on things are the ones that a year from now are going to be talking about the same goals that they want to do. So put those timelines on it. So again, that acronym that I want to leave with you, and you'll be able to get, again, more information on everything that we're talking about will be accessible to you after the session. But SMART, specific. The goal needs to be something that it needs to be measurable, it needs to be attainable, it needs to be relevant, and most importantly, it needs to be time sensitive, putting that deadline on it. Again, we're going to try to fix that audio throughout the session. If not, I'm going to share the screen with you and then chat with you a little bit. So you have to deal with seeing my face here, and I hope that's okay. But before we really get into the things that you need to start doing, I want to talk about the things that you need to stop doing before you start. A couple of those things that you need to stop doing before you get started with your idea for 2013. Stop being a perfectionist. Stop being a perfectionist when it comes to the idea that you have for 2013. Here's what I mean by that. Some folks do not move on an idea because they want that idea to be perfect. I don't think it has to be perfect. I think parts of it need to be of excellence. And parts of it need to be, yes, it needs to be something that is deliverable. But I think a lot of folks really water down, actually not even watering down, but they actually prevent their idea from happening because they want the perfect version of it and they never get anything done. So stop being a perfectionist. Take a look at the overall goal and the idea that you have And like we talked about, find out what is something that is a part of that that can start off. For example, here's a good example of this, especially since we have so many people that are on this webinar that want to publish something, especially with a book. I've talked with writers, and some of them have an idea. Now, they haven't started writing yet, or they've done a little bit of the writing, and they want to, especially artists that are graphic, they want to do a full-blown graphic novel. And they want to do a full-blown story arc that may have no end to it. And that's great. That's a phenomenal idea. But they've been seeing that they have been talking about the same idea over and over and over again and not taking any action on any of it. That's that perfectionist where they see that perfect final product of an ongoing graphic novel that is like, you know, Superman and Batman and all the ones that have been out for decades. Maybe the thing that you need to do is, instead of focusing on the big perfect final product, take a look at that smaller thing. What about a short story? Start with that short story as an example. And that is something that you may be able to get your arms around a little bit more effectively within a shorter time frame. And that shorter time frame may just be for this year, but walk out the steps on the short story first. Then after you succeed with that, you've got a foundation to build upon. Do the next short story. Or by having done the work with that short story, that may have been the springboard for the larger graphic novel. But again, I said all that to say, stop being a perfectionist. And as you may have seen on the screen there, stop being that perfectionist leads into stop trying to launch it all at the same time. So they go hand in hand. What does that mean for you and the idea that you have for 2013? Some of you have shared with me that you have some specific goals or some specific ideas for 2013 that you want to pursue, and they sound great. Continue to focus on those. But the ones that are really grand ideas, that's okay to have that grand idea. Slice it down where it's something that is a little bit more specific, and you don't have to try to launch it all. Now, many of us are familiar with that scripture, Habakkuk 2:2, going into verse 3 as well, and it reads, "Write the vision, make it plain on tablets or on tables, that he that may run, who reads with it may run with it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall not, it will speak and it will not lie. Though it tarries, wait for it, because it will surely not tarry." In a nutshell, and the reason why I posted that is, and this is where I'm probably going to lose a lot of you as far as actually taking action, because this is where most folks either continue on to have that idea for 2013 take place, or they fail to do it, because writing the vision is the key. If you don't write the vision, I'll be honest with you, you're going to be exactly where you are this time next year with the same idea that you set upon. But the people that have actually written down the vision in some form have broken that gap between it being an idea that's, you know, out here in the spirit realm or space or whatever you may want to call it, to it coming into a reality and taking those action steps. Now, again, here's where I first really started learning this firsthand, and it was working within the corporate atmosphere. No matter how spiritual people can be when they talk about a God-given vision, and they know that God has given them the vision to step out on this, I saw secular corporations taking ideas that they have been talking about for either years or several months and starting to take action on it by putting it down on paper. When they put it down on paper, that's when they had something that started that roadmap for it becoming a reality, into the upcoming year. What about the idea that you have for 2013? Now, again, this is where I said I'm going to lose about half of you. You'll probably sit through the rest of our webinar here. But as far as taking the actual action to do something, people that write it down are the ones that have taken a big, huge leap into making it happen. People that do not write that idea down are the ones that still have it in the back of their mind, and in conversation that comes up where they keep talking about, yeah, you know what, I really got to do this. Write that idea down, and it doesn't have to be something very formal that's written down. Let me show you again what when I wrote down Art Slam. In fact, won't even show you on that. I'll show you on, just to give you an idea. I have several of these for over the years, journals. God showed me that the things I needed to start doing, because again, I kept talking and kept talking. I needed to stop talking and start writing. And not writing a huge amount of information, but whatever those specific things that I knew that were the idea for the upcoming year, I had to start writing them down in some format, because as that scripture says, that the person that reads it will run with it. What that meant to me is that when you're able to start writing down your concept and your idea, you're already excited about it and you have passion about it, but you want someone else to have passion about it as well too. When it's written down, then they're able to get as excited about it as you are. And then it is able to be something that can take place. Here's the other thing that takes place when you write down that idea. When you write it down, it actually allows you to start really clarifying exactly what it all means. And let me give you an example of that. And as I mentioned earlier, Petro, one of our great friends and Art Slam artists and sponsors of Art Slam, Petro and I are going to be working together on exchanging some ideas for his vision. His vision is to have his artwork be seen more in the community. And so by a starting point, what I would recommend to him, writing that down, that's where he's going to start taking a look at, okay, well, what does that mean as far as having my artwork seen in the community? Writing it down allows you to start asking questions of yourself and then putting down the answers to those questions. Probably the next step for him as he writes that down is taking a look at actual venues where he can have his artwork displayed in the community. And he will write down what those venues could be, the ideas for where those venues would be. And then from that point, the next step would be, well, reaching out and contacting those folks to find out what's their application process. But you see where I'm going with this? Instead of just having that idea that's just talk and verbal and vocal, when you write it down, first of all, you start asking questions of yourself and getting specifics for that roadmap that you need to follow through. You're able to read it and get excited about it because it is practical. And you share it with somebody else and they get excited about it because they can see what you see because they see the practical steps that you wrote down. So again, if you would earmark Habakkuk 2, 2 and 3, that is, a lot of you are using this already, but really look at the simplicity of what that scripture says. It is something that just basically says, yeah, you have a God-given vision, you have a God-given idea, that's great. Don't just stop there as far as praying about it. The next thing that God wants you to do is write it down. Write down what it is and then start writing down how you would take action on it. And even if you don't have the answers, write down the things that you have the questions about, because when you have the question about it, then that pushes you to find the answer to it. And as you're writing those things down, you're seeing what's unfolding is that roadmap to take action on that idea. Now, I've said this over and over, and I may sound like a broken record, but I really keep saying this because I've seen it over and over. I'm going to lose a lot of you from actually taking action on this because you're not going to write it down. Now, those that will write it down, you're on track for the big step of this becoming a reality in 2013. But those of you that are going to say, I'm going to write it down later or whatever it is, and if you never write it down, mark my word. Now, I don't want to speak anything on you and against you, but I've seen over and over, people that don't write down the idea are the ones that are in the same place where they are right now, still sitting on that idea. So I hope that's not you. That's not anybody that's on this webinar. So as we're seeing time is starting to wrap up, so we're going to go ahead and, as my pastor always say, we're going to start landing this plane. Just a few other things that I'm going to lead up to, some practical things that help you out and some resources and tools. As I've been talking about, your strategic plan sounds like a big fancy word for big corporations and everything, but it does not have to be. Let me show you what my version of my Tony Snipes on the go, so busy with doing so many different things, what my strategic plan looked like. And again, with, as an example, with Art Slam Live, because that's something that everybody's familiar with. But I'm going to show you a glimpse again of what that written strategic plan, what it looked like in its version. Looked like some very rough notes. Looked like something that was on a torn piece of paper. It actually looked a lot better than that photo, but it was something that was written down in my journal. My wife knows this, and I think she's watching this downstairs on her laptop or her tablet. But the journals that I've been keeping, I wrote down the specific bullet points for the ideas that I really felt that God wanted me to act on for that year. First of all, I wrote them down in a place where it's something that I'm always going to be able to get to. My journals over the years, I have several of them that start building up now, because after I finish with one, I go ahead and get another one. But this is a place where everything that's top of mind for me right now lives. And that's where I was led to write down the strategic plan. And again, the strategic plan does sound like a big fancy word, but all it is just basically the roadmap, the specific bullet points of what you're feeling God is telling you to launch out. And keeping it someplace where you can always get your hands on it allows you to be able to reflect back on it. So that strategic plan actually is a launch pad. Let me just break that down just a little bit here. The strategic plan, it serves as a launch pad. It serves also as a roadmap. Well, let me back up. Serving as a launch pad. When you write it down, you have ushered that thing from the idea phase, from the spiritual world, some people focus on it, to something that is positioned to actually happen. So that's the first step. Once you write that thing down and write it down as a strategic plan. And then it serves as the roadmap, because not only does it give you the chance to write down what you feel that idea should be, either writing or completing my novel or expanding my business. And when you start specifically saying what expanding that business is, whatever it is that you're writing down, when you write down the action steps for that, then from that point, let's say going into the first quarter of the upcoming year, and this is what those businesses do. When they go into the first quarter, they reflect back. Actually, they even do it month by month in many cases. They take a look what they've written down as far as what they're going to do, and then they take a look at, well, how are we doing? Are we on track for the goal? Now, here's the, I guess the good thing about this, where a lot of us creative folks, we don't like to be restricted and have, a whole lot of things that say that we have to do this and we have all these parameters and everything. The good thing about having that written down plan and idea and the roadmap for it is that it does not have to be written in stone, but it has to be present. If you don't have it present, then you're either not going to take action or you're going to be all over the place. But when you have it written down, and you have it written down saying, here's what we're going to do, relax. If you don't do all of it, it's okay. It's all right. Nobody's going to do anything to you, but it is present. And again, you've got that roadmap to guide you. Here's where I've seen it actually work. Let's say at the beginning of the year, where all the Christmas and the New Year festivities are over, and that first work day back, what many of us, and I've seen this over and over again, what many of us do, we take a look at, all right, what should we be doing? When you look at that roadmap, it shows you exactly what you should be doing, especially if you're going to try to hit that target date that you set for some of the steps for the idea. So it serves as a roadmap. It serves as a launch pad. It's not written in stone, and it is for, and those of you that are taking notes, write this down. That strategic written plan, not anything big and fancy, but just something written down, is for intentional progress. What I mean by that is, again, with Art Slam, I've been blessed to have that as a successful initiative. The success was not by mistake, let's say. It was intentional, because we planned out, how can we be successful with this? How can it be something that is profitable? How can it be something that we know that people enjoy? So that's why we put down that roadmap. Now, let me pause here and see what questions we have from our audience. All right, we had a question that said, what if you have 5 million ideas that are streaming around in your head and you don't know which one to step out on? Great question. In fact, in my notes, I wrote this down as one of the potential questions that I wanted to make sure that I answered. Here's the reason why I wrote that down. A lot of the folks that are on the webinar today are entrepreneurs. And with all the millions of ideas that you have, that is not uncommon. It is something that is the nature of being an entrepreneur. So you're not crazy. Having these multiple ideas is something that goes along with being an entrepreneur. Here's what you do. Write down all of those ideas. Write down as many pages as it takes. Whatever those, write all 5 million of them down. Now, I know it's not 5 million. Let's say it's 10, whatever it is. Write down all of those ideas. And then prayerfully take that step back. And especially looking at 2013, which one of those ideas are the ones that are closest to you to be able to take some form of action on, let's say in the upcoming quarter. And out of the 10 that you wrote down or whatever it is, you start narrowing it down to what those are. And then also with all of those ideas, write sentences to the ideas where you try to put some specifics to it. Again, I use Petro as an example because I was in the exact same place that he was in, where I wanted to do more live events, or I wanted to get more of my art out there. But then I needed to write some specifics to that. If you're able to write a specific sentence, like I was able to, instead of just saying, I wanted more people to know that I'm an artist in my local community, I changed that to a specific sentence of, I want to launch at least one live event. Any of the ones that you're able to put a specific sentence to, those are the ones that you want to start taking a closer look at. The ones that you don't have that meat to yet are the ones that, not saying throw them away, but go ahead and table them because they may not have been fleshed out yet. And then just continue to look at that, but don't try to do too many. What is the one or two, I would dare to say 3, but let's at least say 1 or 2, maybe 3, that you know that you're able to take some form of action on in the coming year. And that's where you're taking from the 5 million to the ones that are actual steps that you can take. And then also, as we said with our SMART goals, take a look at what's relevant. When those ideas, when you start seeing that there's a handful of those that are in common, that cluster of ideas are probably the ones that you want to start looking at. Well, guys, the time has really been going faster than I thought it was going to go, so I think that we're going to eventually do a part 2 on this session. But here's what I want to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to take a look at before we end. And I'm going to hang around because those of you that need to get off of the call at 12, that's fine. I thank you for chiming in today. We're going to still have additional information for you. But those that are still able to hang around, please do. Here's something I want to share with everybody as far as next steps that you can take, because we had a lot of talk today, but I've got some actual resources and tools that will help you out. Many of the folks that I've talked to knew that, yes, I'm ready to start taking some action on these ideas, but I don't know what next step to take. One of the things that I make available for folks is one-on-one coaching sessions, like the folks that I mentioned earlier with Sandra and Jack and Julian. We've scheduled 4 sessions, and I just do this as a starting point. This is not an ongoing thing. It is if they need it, but just to start you off with 4 sessions to really just find out specifically what is it that you need for your goals. We're able to sit down with 4 one-hour sessions. They're scheduled to fit around your schedule. And it is something that we do by phone, because even on the local level, I found out that it's a lot easier to just do things with conference calls as opposed to trying to, schedule places that we're going to meet and all of that. But if you need that extra help to fine-tuning the goal and the idea and taking action on that idea, then I'm able to help you with that with one of our coaching sessions. If you go to artlessonsfromgod.com/launch, then you'll see more details on that. And again, that web address, and I'll leave it up at the end, artlessonsfromgod.com/launch is the website that or the page on my website that you want to go to. You'll find out more details about the coaching sessions that we do. Also, what I'm able to make available to folks, because again, taking this from our conversation today to something that you can actually take action on, is one of my downloadable workshops. That one, how to clarify your creative vision and to earn a profit as well, is one that has helped out a lot of folks where, like we just said from the person that asked that question about all the multiple ideas that you have, there's a lot of ideas that you may have swirling through your mind right now. I've asked a lot of folks, is it time for your ideas to start paying for themselves? There is a way that you can determine which ideas are the ones that not only can you start launching for 2013, but especially the ones that can start paying for themselves. And so I've got a downloadable workshop. It consists of an audio. It consists of some worksheets that actually are hands-on worksheets where it really is where you apply it to yourself. And you just also go to artlessonsfromgod.com/launch, and you'll see the information that's there that gives you more details on that, and you can order that and download that as well. Well, folks, again, I hate that we didn't get into the meat of all of the information today. I am going to schedule a part 2 on this. And then also we'll be able to fine tune the audio issues that we had. But I want to thank everybody that joined me this morning. I wanted to keep it where it was something that we can do at least by noon, so it wouldn't take away too much from your day. I hope it was helpful for those of you that are not subscribers to my blog, artlessonsfromgod.com. It is titled Art Lessons from God, but we don't just focus only on visual art, because I found out that it really helps a lot of creative people discover their purpose. And we're able to help you with that. If you're not already a subscriber, go to the website, artlessonsfromgod.com, and you'll see where you can subscribe. And then especially for getting more details on how we can take and help you with that idea that you have, whether you may not need the one-on-one coaching. And that is fine. That's why we have that download for you. That is something that you can use at your own pace. That can be found at artlessonsfromgod.com/launch. Again, that's artlessonsfromgod.com/launch. And you'll see the details on that. But I hope this was helpful for you. I hope it was something that you can take that initial ideas that you have that you know were supposed to maybe even already be taking place. You don't want to go into another year where you don't take action on it. 2013 is your year. I don't want to lose you if you don't write down that vision. That's what I said. I can lose half of you if you don't write it down. Get something that just a notebook or something, and just start writing those ideas down, and then start trying to flesh them out as far as what does it mean to take that extra step on that thing. Start writing those things out. And if you need help on really just how to clarify it, then we're here for you. So thanks for chiming in, and we'll let you know when we'll have the part 2 session scheduled for you. Thanks again, and we hope you enjoy it.